Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me again with the Heavy Lifting podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined with Paxton over at Ready to Move. Paxton, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me, Brian. I look forward to this conversation.
I think it's going to be really great. We spoke on the phone a little bit before this, and it sounds like you're going to have a lot of really interesting insights. But to begin with, I'd love if you tell the audience a little bit more about your business, where you guys are located. You've been in a business a very long time. Tell them a little bit about it.
So, Ready to Move started in 2005 when I was starting graduate school. Been in business ever since, based in Macon, Georgia. We move anywhere in the lower 50 states, 48 states rather. And household goods, commercial, and everything that people need to have moved.
That's amazing. So it sounds like you're a staple. I'm sure everyone in the area knows you guys because you've been around for 20 years. Now, you said you started when you got straight out of school. It sounds like entrepreneurship is in your blood. Is this the first business you started? I know you have a couple now since then.
So in high school, started a lawn care business, and we continued that until my early 30s, and then sold that. So it was continuous along with Ready to Move. We've also had a flooring company where we install all types of floors, refinish hardwoods, things like that. Sold that in my mid 30s. We have a storage unit which plays well with the moving. They kind of work hand in hand. We got into that around COVID, and we've got about 300 units, apartment, couple offices. And then our most recent venture is an application in the insurance world that's way too boring to speak about here, but we do like to try and do it as much as we can.
Awesome. So you've always enjoyed the business side of things by the sounds of it, and you've done a lot of home service by the sounds of it, businesses, and congratulations on two exits already. That's really amazing. And now it sounds like you're going a little bit towards the tech side. We won't go too much into that because I'm sure it's going to be quite complex. But what made you want to get into tech? Just real quick.
So one of the things my wife started doing around 2 years ago was public adjusting, where you assist a homeowner with their claim to make sure they get maximum payment. And she noticed gaps in coverage that caused the homeowner to not get full payment. And that problem started before the tragedy ever happened. So this analyzes policy, looks for gaps, and makes recommendations. And it's a large language model, proprietarily trained, all that stuff.
That's amazing.
Her space, not mine.
That's what I was going to ask you
Yeah.
about next. For all of you who don't know what a large language model is, that's stuff we're familiar with, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. It's just this AI front that we're in currently. And do you use AI much in your business, Paxton?
I do. We've used it for some posts and things that we do to generate interest. Looking like we're going to have to do a lot more in pretty much every industry. So get used to it.
It's a fascinating place to be, and I always do like to touch upon it in the podcast. A lot of people sometimes feel behind the eight ball when talking about AI and all of this stuff. But I'd love to hear from you specifically, who has implemented it into the moving industry. Where's a great place for people to begin if they don't feel so AI native? What would you recommend they start with?
So right now, an easy solution is websites offer AI assistants that are fairly well trained in standard moving questions, and they can assist in generating estimates and follow-ups and everything that's necessary to get those moves. An interesting thing I just heard was certain companies are going to pay movers to wear cameras and accessories to train these humanoid robots in everything that a mover does. Oh, yay.
The audience is gonna hate that. They're
Yeah.
quaking in their boots right now. Do you know which business, which company that is? That's so
Yeah,
fascinating.
I heard it. I heard a guy talking about a book that he wrote on Elon Musk, and they were talking about how different industries, from barista to personal trainer, was going to wear this device to train future humanoids on all the nuance of the industry. So
Hmm. So that's going to be very fascinating.
very.
And that's something which we also need to realize as business owners and as moving company owners is that's where the industry is going to. We're very well placed in the system of AI in the sense that our jobs aren't going to be replaced overnight. But what can we do right now with AI that actually helps us? And I'm really glad you mentioned that. Is you said estimates is a great place to begin. With all of your data you have, whether you do an in-person estimate, whatever it is, whether you have a list, feed that in to whichever LLM you want to use, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever it is, and it will help you out through the estimate process a lot. So I'm really glad you brought that up. It also sounds like it helps you with a little bit of your content and stuff.
Yes, definitely. Because there's certain, even after 20 years, there's certain moves that I've never done before. A commercial freezer I've never seen before, or, certain applications of desks assembly, and you plug that in with pictures and boom, it outputs anything you need. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really is incredible. So
Still gotta
any
have
of you
muscles to move it and do it, but
Yeah, there's still gonna be a lot we need to do ourselves, but I'm glad Paxton actually brought it up, is AI can help you guys out a lot, and be sure to use it. As you can see, tell with Paxton, it's saving him time, and it's also specific knowledge which you might not have. Paxton's been in the moving industry more than most of us, I imagine, 20 years now already, been a really long time, but, like, I've never moved a commercial freezer. It's a great place to go to and, actually have additional information there. So that's really awesome. Now, it sounds like you've got the tech side down. I actually always love to ask business owners about this. What does your tech stack look like when it comes to operating a moving company?
so our software is a company called Easily, and it's comprehensive. You can let customers put in their inventory. It does all the follow-ups. As the date of move approaches, it lets them know how to get ready. You can input any kind of pre-move email you want to put in there. And that keeps track of our customers. It'll send them a follow-up after a year. A lot of people move yearly or bi-yearly, so that helps get that retention on the move. Um, so that we've used a bunch of answering systems in the past with mixed reviews. People want to speak with somebody who's knowledgeable. They don't want to wait on a call back. So currently all call calls come to me and I answer them. Most estimates are given over the phone. Sometimes they'll send pictures to me and we'll do it that way, or a voice video call rather. But essentially our software consists of that Easily product, and that's pretty comprehensive for us.
That's amazing. So pretty much you just use Easily and it really helps with the estimate process. And by the sounds of it, it also helps with some almost sales retention, so to say. It sounds like it does emails, and I imagine you can change the cadence of this, but yearly or bi-yearly. And that's something a lot of moving company owners forget about is after you move someone, you want as much repeat business as possible because then you're not paying for that client again. And emails is a great way to do it. Like you said, a lot of people move every 12 months.
Yes.
So if you want to do it 11 months after you move them, it's very easy to set this up in whichever CRM or software you use and actually have these automatic emails go out. So I'm really, really glad you brought that up. Is there any other functionality in Easily that you find really beneficial to you?
Yes, thank you for that. Another one is post move. It'll send a request for feedback with Google, a direct link, and that's very important, as we all know, to have our rating high. So that's another good one.
That's amazing, and, for all of you guys listening, whether that's in your CRM or whether not, still always do that. I think that's really great, and the way that we like to do it ourselves is we will go ahead and just say, "How was your move?" Something along those lines, "Thank you so much for using us. What would you rate it out of 5?" And then if they give you a 4 or below, you go ahead and you deal with their concerns and how you can help them out and best solve that, and if it's a 5, you go ahead and send them your Google link, your Yelp link, whatever it might be, and that's going to bring a lot of value to you in the long run, sort of getting all of those reviews. I actually, my brother and I have a business together. He just sent me something recently which I was fascinated by, which is, and you can do this right now. Everyone who's left you a 5-star review in the past, just sort of copy and paste the template. We're trying to get more reviews on this site, and that's going to be good for your reviews. That's going to be good for your SEO, all of that fun stuff. Okay, well, awesome. Easily sounds like it is helping you out a lot. I'd love to touch on not just your moving business, but all of your businesses. Were these benefiting one another? Because I could see some sort of overlap between these businesses. What did that look like?
Yeah, so we do a lot of direct mail over the years, and so once we had multiple businesses that homeowners needed, that we would on our cards would have all of the businesses, and then of course every time I'm speaking to somebody on a move, I can say I can cut your grass. Here's the price. So they kind of go hand in hand.
That's amazing. And then what had you sell these businesses in the end?
I got to a point on the lawn care company where I would have to train someone every month because they would have personal issues or whatever. So it just became too much. So I sold the accounts to a friend of mine that also had a business, and he just bought me out equipment and accounts. So it's pretty
That's
easy exit.
That's great, and now you get to put all of your focus towards the app, and then of course the moving business as well, which is really exciting. Now, you mentioned something there which I think a lot of people sleep on, and I'd love to ask your expertise in, which is direct mail. I'd love to talk more about direct mail, how you go ahead and actually execute on that, and then also other forms of marketing, which you think might be useful for our listeners to hear about.
So in our market, we look for houses in a certain income range, and then in Zillow, you can see if the house is furnished or not. So you can kind of have an idea of what moving needs they need, and you can parcel it down. And we might do 40 or 50 of those a month. You get about half of them calling you, and I'm pretty good at closing. Try and get an in-home estimate so they see who they're dealing with, and usually goes pretty well. So as long as you can make your initial output kind of direct, that's worked for us. We've never done any large media direct mail campaigns, so I can't speak to those.
So that's actually really fascinating, and most people that I speak to do the large media where you sort of spray and pray, so to say. But it sounds like you're having much better results being very specific. So if I understand your process correctly, you're going on Zillow, you're looking at a specific price range. Are you looking at intent signals for moving, or it's just a specific price range and then you go from there?
So it would be ones that are listed for sale. Yeah, they're already listed for sale. And then once you see them for sale, you can see the photos. And if there's sparse furnishings, maybe not. But sometimes it works. The people moving into the home see the card while they're looking, and you get that moved. So you never know.
That's amazing. And now these cards that you're making, what kind of information do you have on them? Is any of, I imagine it's just one generic template?
Sure. Vistaprint makes them, and they have nice picture of my family and I and all of our marketing. So people like that, and then some information about the moving, white glove, packing services, all the things that we offer, and then our phone number, email, website.
That's amazing. And it sounds like your results are really great. And I like this when it's personalized and you're just reaching out to people who have very high intent. That's something which everyone should know is just super important, or your results are always going to be better. But it sounds like, what did you say? You said around 50% of the people that you give direct mail to actually reach out.
Yeah, about that number. We actually handwrite their name. We don't write homeowner or anything like that on the card. So, they know it's coming from a person, which still matters.
I think that goes a really, really long way is people want to feel heard and they want it to be personable, which is exactly what happens. I used to have an e-commerce business with my brother and we did the same thing. Every single product we sent out, we would handwrite like a thank you or something like that. And it goes such a long way because at the end of the day, life is relationships, right? Whether that is romantic relationships, business relationships, personal. So I really like that personal touch. Do you do writing it out? I'm sure that goes a long way. And 50% is unheard of when it comes to reply rates. So that's great.
And
So
everybody says, you may hear this. The next time you move me will be in a pine box. Has
Mhm.
anybody said that to you, Nat?
I haven't heard that expression, but I
Okay.
like it.
They call you the next year. They're
Yeah,
going to move again. So relationships are important.
big time. Do you know any of your stats behind repeat customers? I know you have easily in
I
your
have to
CRM and
look,
stuff.
but off the top of my head, probably 30% of the moves that we do are people that have used us before or somebody in the family very close to them has used.
And that's amazing. And that goes a long way behind the quality that you actually give when you're doing the service. How many trucks do you have? How many teams are you running? How do you keep that quality so high?
Sure. Currently, we have 3 trucks. For a while, we were up to 6 trucks, and quality was a concern. So I decided we need to scale it back, get some reliable people. So we run about 3 trucks. I've got about 12 to 15 guys that I can call on when I need them, and that seems to be a good size.
That's amazing. That's really, really good. And I think that's an important note too, is a lot of people just think more is better. And as you've seen yourself, more is not always better. You want to make sure that you scale, but scale healthily with good guys who are reliable. They like working with each other. You take care of them, they take care of you. Yeah. So really, really huge there. Now, what other forms of marketing do you do which you see effective? The direct mail seems like it's been great.
We do SEO, so we have a company that does all that. I'm not familiar with all the data on, um, our exposure there, but, we also advertise on, like, local baseball teams. We'll sponsor a golf tournament, things like that. We've got a certain budget for that. And then I try and do things like this, talk to people, go on the radio, be at events, just talk.
Well, that's amazing, and you're very well articulated and have a very interesting story, so I'm sure that goes a long way. Out of curiosity, is this your first podcast? You said radio as well. How do you find these opportunities?
So, just local friends, we're a member of a local club. A lot of people just sit around and shoot. So you figure out who knows who and try and work in where you can. And people are always looking to fill segments. Knowing that somebody's available and camera ready goes a long way.
That's amazing. That's really cool. By the sounds of it, the other thing you do as well is SEO. Do you do any paid ads when it comes to digital marketing? Google or any of that?
Currently, we do not. As the summer approaches, we will.
Gotcha. Okay. And you've seen good results in that in the past? That's it. I always like to see that, and this is something I want to just like tell home to all the viewers. I think Hormozy said this originally, but I love it. It's like you only need one lead funnel that works incredibly well to hit $1 million a year in
Yes.
any industry. And just like you've seen this with your direct mail, if you wanted to do instead of 50 a month, if you do 5,000 a month and you still get those same rates of return, like you just need to be really good at one thing and do it really well. And that's something, it sounds like you've mastered direct mail specifically and some other ones as well. That's something I urge everyone at home. Just work on one thing which resonates with you. If you like talking to people, go ahead. You can go door knock, whatever it needs to be, right? Do something which is efficient and just get better and better at it. Personalize it, and it goes a long way.
Is I think you could just start a social media account and just follow your movers around. It's a crazy life as a mover, you know?
Now, I'm curious about that. This is something I wish I did more when I had my moving company is content. Do you invest in content? Do you try and get content out? Because it's fascinating now with all of that.
I don't. I've had some guys that have had some TikTok stuff in the past, and it can cause problems, you know? So you kind of have to be on it. And I haven't put any time to that.
Well, that's
It'd be
okay.
fun.
That's
I think it'd be a lot of fun. There's a lot of scenarios. Every day is new with moving, as you well know, and customers are interesting, and it can be fun.
I bet it could be. You could have sort of like a day in the life of a mover thing going and then do that every single day. That would be something which would be really fascinating. And while they're trying to develop these humanoid robots, just put a GoPro on and that's it. You get all
Exactly.
your content for every single
100%.
day. Awesome. Now, over 20 years, you've been in the business a very, very long time. How has the moving landscape changed over those years? What have you seen?
Sure. So we started in '05. Money was cheap. Everybody was moving right before the Great Recession. And so what we noticed as the Great Recession started was people stopped having us pack their items and maybe even have us not move their boxes. So choose to use us for less hours because money, they had to pay for the moves themselves. So that has kind of happened more recently. COVID, there was a lot of money and people were paying us to do packs and full moves. Now it's kind of shrinking a little bit. So I've kind of noticed that trend long term. One thing that's good with moving, there's so many different avenues that need movers. Like if you think about a hospital or a large building, they need a mover almost every day. So if you can find contacts like that to fill in the slowdowns with regular work, that's very, very important. And that kind of has always been there. So that's kind of a steady, sometimes there's more allocated for it, but industrial business moves are good stay point when those times go up and down based on homeowner.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Paxton, because I think it's a gold mine in the moving industry is you can do your residential moves day to day and you can just do them, but it's like you said, once a year. But when you get those commercial contracts, whether it be for a hospital, something like that, that really goes a long way because then you might be doing, like you said, with a hospital, they might have a daily move. You can just go ahead and take care of that. How do you land those first couple deals when it comes to commercial contracts?
Those are very big on being very personal with the person in charge. So they take some finesse. You take them to lunch, you show them you move this person they know, you make it apparent that you can handle their needs. That's the only way I've really been able to make that happen. People that get those positions as a mover for a large corporation tend to hold on to them, do everything they can to. So, and then another one is like online companies that need local deliveries. Those are fairly constant. We did roll up mattresses for years for Nectar and other companies like that, and they just show up on your doorstep, a couple $100 every other day. Things like that are really an interesting avenue to explore.
And I think it's also what's nice about these is often, like you said, they're sometimes piecemeal, right? So, like, if you have a day where you know you're not going to be too busy, maybe for you it's Wednesdays, Thursdays, whatever it is, or during the middle of the month, you can take on more of that. And then you can sort of use it to make sure that your trucks are full and your crews are staying busy and all of that. So that's really great. Now, with those first ones, did that sort of just fall into your lap or did you intentionally reach out to the right people to land those deals?
Some of our smaller ones, like the intro into the idea of working for a hospital, was doing installs for an interior designer in the hospital. And that kind of gave me the foothold in, and then just kind of grew the relationship from there. And then it's taken a lot of subtlety and nuance and giving the right people to the job to make sure it's appropriately done. But you make sure and hold on to those contracts.
Gotcha. So do everything you can, bend over backwards, so to say, to just make sure that you really take care of those clients. Now, I'm curious, it sounds like you've had benefit from having lots of different businesses and more insights. And as we all know, every year in business, we learn so much more. If you had to do it all over again, would you want to run multiple businesses at one time, or was that quite a big time spend, or would you just want to do one?
That's a great question. My wife and I go back and forth on this because while we've done these businesses, we've done real estate where we've redone buildings in downtown areas and apartments and things like that. And they definitely take from the main goal. It's really hard to say. That's because I've enjoyed. I'm reading a book right now called Range, where it kind of explores the idea that it's important to be good at a bunch of different things, but it's also good to specialize. I don't know. I think I'm good with the way it is. I would obviously do things differently looking back because what idiot wouldn't? But I've enjoyed the multitude of experiences, and it gives me a wealth of things to talk about with people. And they did kind of feed each other. It's hard to say. Hard to say, man.
'Cause it's funny, even now looking back at it, you're not sure if you would do
Yeah.
it different because I'm sure there's been a lot of upside to it, just like you said, but there's also been downside to it. I like I so you said the book was called Range.
Range.
I
Yes.
like the concept, but it's one of those paradigms is like having lots of different things to work on is nice, and then you become not so much a jack of all trades, but you become expertised in some things. And I don't just mean like spend a month on it. I'm sure you spent 10 plus years in these industries and you know them very, very well. But then at the same time, like I was saying, getting really, really great at one thing, it's a paradigm. So
So it
it sounds
starts off with the example of Tiger Woods, who played golf from three straight, just golf, and Roger Federer, who played a bunch of different things and just chose tennis. And
mm.
Tiger's recent experience, you know, but both are good. Who knows? Who knows?
And would you recommend that book to the listeners? It's a good book
Yes,
to
it's a
check out.
very good book. Good case studies in there. The author's humorous, which I always like to laugh.
Amazing. I'm definitely going to have to check out that book. That's a really, really fascinating range. I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds great. Well, Paxton, I really appreciate all of your time. So people can find you online. Where would be the best place for them to find you, whether that be personally or whether that be for your business? Is that going to be LinkedIn? Is that going to be your website?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn, Paxton Taylor, Ready to Move LLC, also Claim Ready. Ready to Move LLC is the website, and everything pretty much can funnel through there.
Amazing. Well, I will go ahead and link all of those things in the description. Again, thank you so much for dedicating the time to this podcast. It's crazy because normally the value that we have put into this 23 minutes takes an hour to get out of most people. So I appreciate all of the insights that you've given us and given to our listeners. Was there anything else in particular that you wanted to share, whether that's something that you've experienced in the moving industry, anything else you wanted to share with the audience?
Well, there's a great book list. There's another podcaster named Chris Williamson, and he's got a book list of 100 books. Actually, has two of them, so 200 total books, and ranges on there, but they're incredible, top to bottom. So, in the expansion of knowledge idea, just that's a great book list to look at. And I appreciate your time, Brian.
I love that. And self-improvement is something which we should always be aspiring for. How much do you read? I'm
So, I
curious.
read every night. I've got four kids. One of them is from China, from eighth grade to 4K. So we got a lot going on here. But at the end of the day, I like to try and read for about 30 minutes. Sometimes it's the Bible, sometimes it's trying to make myself better. Both, well, hey, both are trying to make myself better.
That's what I was going to say.
Some
Both
of
of
it's
those,
the
I'm
Lord's
sure,
words, some of it's other people's words. So pretty much every night, 30 minutes at least.
that's fascinating. And that's something which I think, especially for the younger generation, people have almost stopped reading. And I think reading goes such a long way. If you're looking for mentors, whether that be in the moving space or anywhere, there's so many good books out there that you can just learn so much
Yes,
from.
and we
So
encourage all of our kids to do that as well. My 11-year-old read 6 million words last year for accelerated readers, so he's really getting the picture. Hopefully, the other ones do too.
And that's the fun thing too, is it doesn't always need to be self-help books. Just reading in general is going to make you articulate better. Your vocabulary is going to be wider. That's something my parents always push me on. I've got to say, I don't read enough. I try and read half an hour a day, but it's more like every other day. And especially when it's with your kids, just give them anything that they enjoy. As long as they're reading, there's so much material out there. Just make sure that they're reading, and that's going to go such a long way.
Definitely.
Awesome. Paxton, thank you again so much for all of your time. I wish you all of the best with Ready to Move, and I'm really, really excited to see where you guys will be at in another 5 or 10 years'
Thank you,
time.
Brian. I really enjoyed it. It was a great conversation.